Hello everyone, I am Shivam Tiwari. Thank you for joining me in this video. I am excited to present to you the connection to instances in different VPCs using VPC peering. Before we delve into the details, I want to take a moment to express my gratitude for your presence here. Your time and attention are valuable, and I assure you that I will do my utmost to make this presentation engaging, informative, and worthwhile. So let's start. VPC peering is a networking feature that allows you to connect two virtual private clouds in AWS cloud. This enables instances in the peered VPCs to communicate with each other as if they were part of the same network. Using private IP addresses, VPC peering is a powerful tool for securely connecting your cloud resources and expanding the reach of your applications. So we move to the next slide, and the next slide is understanding VPC peering. So what is VPC peering? VPC peering is a networking feature that allows you to connect two virtual private clouds in the same or different AWS regions. This enables instances in the peered VPCs to communicate with each other as if they were in the same network. The peering connection is private, secure, and does not rely on a gateway VPN connection or the internet. Through VPC peering, you can share resources between VPCs like databases, web servers, or other applications. This can improve application performance and efficiency by reducing network hops and eliminating the need for routing through the internet or on-premises infrastructure. VPC peering also supports inter-region connectivity, allowing you to create multi-region architectures and improve application resiliency. And the next slide says that prerequisites for VPC peering. There are three prerequisites: network compatibility, security permissions, preparation checklists. Network compatibility says that the two VPC must have non-overlapping CIDR blocks. This ensures that the instances in one VPC can communicate with instances in the other VPC without any routing conflicts. Security permission says that the necessary security permissions to create and manage VPC peering connections. This includes the ability to create and accept peering requests as well as manage the associated routing tables and security groups. Third one is preparation checklist. The preparation checklist, it is the most important to gather the necessary information such as the VPC IDs, CIDR blocks, and account details. This will streamline the setup processes and ensure a smooth VPC peering connection. We move to the next slide, and next slide says that computing VPC peering. Step by step, first step says that we create a VPC peering connection, which is the first step to initiate a VPC peering connection request from one VPC to the other. This is done through the VPC console, where you will select the VPCs involved and configure the peering connection settings. Second step says that accept the peering request. When we accept the peering, accept the owner of the VPC receiving the peering request must then accept it. This completes the establishment of the VPC peering connection, allowing the two VPCs to communicate with each other. And the third step says that configure routing tables. That next you will need to update the routing tables in each VPC to enable traffic to flow between the two VPCs. This involves adding routes to the destination CIDR block of the other VPC, pointing to the VPC peering connection. And the next slide says that routing tables and route propagation. Once the VPC peering connection is established, you need to configure the routing tables in each VPC to enable communication between the instances. This involves adding routing in the route tables for the period VPC CIDR block, directing traffic to the VPC peering connection. Route propagation can then be used to automatically update the route tables in each VPC with the necessary routes. After configuring the routing, instances in the peered VPCs will be able to communicate directly over the private VPC network. Rather than going through the internet or a VPN connection, this provides a secure and efficient method for sharing resources between VPCs while keeping the traffic isolated from public networks. And next slide says that security considerations. There are three security considerations: VPC peering, isolation, controlling access, security monitoring. First one says that two VPCs two VPCs network connections between two VPCs, but this connection is isolated and does not extend to the other VPCs or the internet. This helps maintain a secure environment by limiting access and potential attack vectors. Controlling access says that the peered VPC resources by setting appropriate security group rules and network ACLs. This allows you to grant or deny access to specific IP addresses, ports, and protocols as needed. Security monitoring regularly monitor VPC peering connections for any suspicious activity or unauthorized access attempts utilize AWS Cloud Trial and VPC flow logs to track and analyze network traffic between the peered VPCs. And the next one says that limitations of VPC peering. There are three limitations of VPC peerings, that is limited scale, increased latency, lack of transitive routing. Number of VPC peering connections. A single VPC can have typically up to 125 per VPC. This can be a limitations for organizations with complex networking architectures that requires extensive VPC interconnectivity. When data is transmitted between peered VPCs, it must traverse the AWS network, which can introduce additional latency compared to direct connections within a single VPC. This can be a concern for applications that require low latency communication. Lack of transitive routing. Lack of transitive routing says that which means if VPC A is paired with VPC B and VPC B is paired with VPC C, VPC A cannot communicate directly with VPC C through the peering connections. This can be a limitation for complex network topologies. And the slide says that testing connectivity. There are three steps of testing connectivity. This is ping test, TCP connection test, service verification. And the next slide says that troubleshooting VPC peering. If you encounter any issues with your VPC peering connection, there are several troubleshooting steps you can take to identify and resolve the problem. First, ensure that the VPC peering connections is in an active state and that the route tables in both VPCs have been properly configured to route traffic between the two VPCs. Check the security group and network ACL settings in both VPCs to ensure that they are allowing necessary traffic to flow between the two VPCs. You can also use VPC peering connection status checks and VPC route table inspections to help identify any issues with the peering connection or routing. If you are still experiencing connectivity problems, you may need to investigate potential DNS resolutions issues or check for any overlapping CIDR block configurations that could be causing conflicts, or additionally ensure that you have appropriate IAM permissions to manage the VPC peering connection and associated resources. And the last slide says that conclusion and best practices. There are three conclusions that solidify the connections, monitor and optimize, follow security best practices. Solidify the connections says that to ensure the stability and reliability of your VPC peering connection, it is crucial to regularly review and maintain the routing tables, security groups, and network ACLS on both sides. Proactively addressing any changes or potential issues can help prevent disruptions to the communication between your VPCs. Monitor and optimize. Closely monitor the network traffic and performance between the peered VPCs. Third-party monitoring tools to track matrices like latency, bandwidth, utilization, and error rates, allowing you to identify and resolve any bottlenecks or inefficiencies. Follow security best practices. Maintain a strong security posture by regularly reviewing and updating your security groups, network ACLS, and IAM policies. Ensures that only the necessary ports and protocols are allowed between the peered VPCs, and consider the implementing additional security measures like VPN or encryptions if required by your organization's policies. Thank you very much.